taught in the local language, their mother tongue or the state language. Yeah. So the first thing that we are talking about is that schools can still teach in English, but the idea is that during the foundation years, if local language or the state language or the child's mother tongue is used, he or she will get their concepts will become clearer. Look at what happened to us. When we were struggling to understand or speak in English, we were also taught the core subjects. We could not get either of them. So if the core subjects are taught in the mother tongue, that is something which I'm sure will bring in a lot of difference. I've been giving these examples. I'm 50 plus. People of my age or doctors in my city. I'm from Ahmedabad, Gujarat. Doctors in my city, my age doctors, most of them are from Gujarati medium. It doesn't mean the students who studied in English medium schools did not have good school or were not smart or intelligent. Their concepts became clearer because they were taught in their local language and they were able to understand and put it back. So early years, foundation years, teaching in that local language is a very, very good step and that should be implemented. But that doesn't mean that English should be put away. A child till the age of 8 can acquire up to 5 languages. We need to go for the three language system: local language, the classical language, and the foreign language, right? So foreign language becomes English, local becomes the local language. The classic language can either be Sanskrit or Tamil or some of these languages. We have to understand that why do we need this? Of course, Hindi will be there. Why do we need to have the local language or the languages like Sanskrit? And I mean, why should students know that? Because there's a lot of information, there's a lot of knowledge in those books, which are all Sanskrit, in our scriptures. If we are able to understand them, a lot can be gained. The other countries are looking at Sanskrit and we are not. I'm so glad that they're making Sanskrit everywhere. In fact, I would, proudly say that because we realized this was happening, we've actually come up with a Sanskrit lab. All our students are now being given Sanskrit to be taught using a technology-based language lab. So that is possible. That is something great. So coming back to the point, language, what we are talking about is we need to work on them and we need to always ensure that with the local language, the other foreign language and classical language also should be taught at the same level. There should be no such system as higher level language or a lower level language. So that's something that we talk about. Going on to next, there's another study which says that if a child speaks three or more than three languages, their brain works better. How does that work? Imagine if in one line you could use three different languages, your logic works pretty well. Okay, what we want is our students to be thinkers. You can think only this logic. So what we say is make sure that each child speaks at least three languages, and that is where things will become much better for them. And the kind of citizen that we are looking at to come into the mainstream, kind of students who come into the mainstream, who go on to the research-based education, there they need to have this kind of this thing. So this is a very good step that they've taken on to that. Another point that I'm talking about is that we are all talking about teacher training, teacher training, teacher training. Yes. How will we do that? Again, we need to use technology. We can reach out to the furthest point of the country if they have technology. One important thing, if we had the government known that this pandemic was going to be this long, and if they would have distributed tablets to all students, students who were underprivileged, students from government schools, I think that major loss of 1 year, that would not have happened. We could have saved a lot of you can understand it is millions of years that we have lost. Each child losing a year is millions of years collectively. We could have saved that, but still it is not late. If I were to be able to tell the government, I would say, please make sure that everybody has a tablet, because that is a new source of information, and that along with internet. I am also proposing, I've also sent a letter to these people saying that please have a education based network which will do away with the wrongs of the internet but bring in all the pluses of the internet. We can do that. If the government can stop a certain website to be seen, we can do that. Let all these devices that the students have, let them be connected to that network, which should be a free network. Our government can afford that. Our government, instead of giving so many books, give them a tablet once in 2 or 3 years. everything will come free. But if they work onto that, that is something that I look at. So this is the only thing that I'm looking at in the NEP policy. The only thing that they have not done is they've said we will digitize school, we'll do this, we'll spend this much money. But how much money would you spend for the last mile connectivity and give that device to each child? Incidentally, when we've realized that this was happening and they were not getting it, we've created the entire product that we work on, everything on a mobile phone. So even a mobile phone can be good enough for learning, not for teaching. I would always say teachers, principals, if your teachers are teaching using a mobile phone, tell them to use a computer because a small device is not good enough effectively. It may be good to look at, but not to deliver. That is one thing that I would put up. Coming on to one more important thing is we've all talked about vocational training. Why these vocational training? Why those bagless days? Because actually we need to let our children know that each and every profession has importance. If they go and work with a fellow artisan, with a carpenter or a shoemaker or somebody else working in the nearby areas, they will understand and they will respect them. We need to bring in dignity of labor. Each and every work, each and every profession has to be respected. Once that comes in, empathy will come in. Yes, our country has a lot of empathy, but it is closed. It is only towards my religion, my vicinity thing. But if we open up, if we let them meet other people, the social impact, the social learning will happen. Social learning cannot happen inside a classroom. It cannot happen with books. It has to happen with students walking out, going into the neighbors, understanding each other. And that's where, we can have our India of tomorrow. Because our India of tomorrow is not just, economically stronger and army-wise a strong country. We are also looking human values, and that is what we are demonstrating as of now by giving so many free COVID vaccines. When Indians themselves are not getting it, we are looking towards our neighbors and doing a classical example, and that is what should be inculcated in our students. So, what I think overall, NEP 2020 has looked at all the things, what they have done for languages. I am very happy, though I am a person who supports or promotes English as a language as a company, but we've come up with a Hindi lab and a Sanskrit lab so that those things can also be taken up. Right? Over to you, Rajulji. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaswinder sir, for making those very important and strong remarks. So, thank you. I'll come back to you with question. Now, I would request our last key speaker, Mr. Savio John. Savio, we can have your perspective. Yeah.
Hi, are you able to hear me, Rajulji?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry I was a little late in joining the session. I was facing some technical issues. Thank you everybody for having me over. It's a great privilege to be in the presence of so many illustrious personalities, and I'm really privileged to hear from everybody their views and their thoughts on the NEP. And I represent the music fraternity, so I would only be talking about how NEP has addressed the whole idea of music and how I think music should be given a little importance um, in the current age in 2020. Sorry, 2021 and on. Um, if we compare the national education policy with the national policy of education, which came out in 1986, like there was only a single mention of music then compared to what we have now. The NEP has ensured that they have given a lot of importance to music education, and there is a mention of it like over 20 times. We find it a very welcome move. And being music aggregators, I feel that the NEP, which has addressed so many 21st century skills like communication, critical thinking, creativity, and and then collaboration. And I feel that the focus is totally on experiential holistic learning. And given an option, if children are allowed to pursue various courses, if they're given an option to spend time with various courses like music, sports, literature, arts, they would be able to equip themselves with skills for a practical life and make better course choices later on in their life. I would like to begin by speaking about the United States of America, where Torrance started off as a music education company, and it was in the year 2010. And from then till now, we are in over 200 public schools in the US. Now, these public schools in the US are not financially very strong. They're always cash strapped for money. But what happens is that they put a lot of importance in equipment and equipping the laboratories in such a way that every child gets an access to a music instrument. There would be 20, 30 guitars, 20, 30 keyboards, 20, 30 drum kits. And we see that all these children have a one-on-one hands-on on the equipment compared to the situation in our country. Even in many premium schools, we see that the children do not have these facilities. And we see a kid playing a guitar and five others waiting in line they wait for the other kid to finish so that they can get access of the instrument. Um, Compared to the situation in the US, I think this is where we need to step up and we need to understand that giving children an access to one-on-one instruments, one-on-one access to facilities would bring about the change and the value addition which we desire. And we know the contribution of music on the society, on human beings as a whole. There are so many children between the age groups of 6 and 14 right now who are going through a lot of psychological conditions like stress, anxiety, hyperactivity disorder, and many a time it leads to suicidal thoughts, suicidal tendencies. What happens is if we allow the children to spend a little time with something like music, we equip the child to handle his problems on his own to a certain extent. Instead of diverting the kid's mind to something negative, the kid would be able to pick up an instrument and spend time playing that instrument. And definitely, it would take the kid's mind off from the negative thoughts which the child may be having. One of the most renowned music directors of the country, Mr. Ehsan Nurani, who also happens to be a director with Torrens Music, would always say how he would visit the United States for a few international shows, and when he would visit the schools there, he would see that children in classes 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, they play instruments which are as good as the professional musicians in India. Now, all this happens not because the kid is given an instrument when the child is in the secondary school or the higher secondary school, but they start off at a very basic level. They start off when the child is 4 years, 3 years, 5 years, and when the child is exposed to any kind of music, it directly impacts the development of the child. We call it social or whether it is emotional, motor skills, whatever it may be. There is a lot of research which even says that exposing children to music even before they are born into the world, that is in the womb of a mother, directly has a positive influence on the unborn child. There are a lot of research papers which are published. You may go on Google and check for it as well. And it shows that these kids uh, later on in life develop better logical reasoning ability as well. And it's a known fact that music has been used as a therapy in situations like depression, anxiety, and stress. I remember one of the principals of a very reputed school in central India when she had called me for a meeting. We had already given a program there, and she happened to address the fact that they were facing situations like breakage of instruments and classroom violence, and the numbers were rising. The principal happened to tell me after they introduced music, they found that there has been a significant reduction in the number of cases of classroom violence and problems related to breakage of instruments. And in one of the previous sessions, taking a cue from everybody, from all the speakers today, and also resonating with what one of the previous speakers in one of the previous sessions said, uh, he said that we just do not want to become a superpower. We need to have leaders, and we need to have individuals who know their responsibilities. And these leaders would be a result of holistic development. And so it's only going to happen if they are exposed to holistic development. And this development just doesn't happen at the graduation level. It starts as early as the early childhood care. And there is this regulation of the preschool level, which is prescribed in the NEP. And I feel it is a very, very important move. Introducing some kind of an activity like dance or music at this fundamental level is going to ensure that there is a lot of proper development which is happening in the child. Not that academics do not develop it, but a lot of areas can be addressed if we introduce a subject like music. You have courses like guitars, keyboards, drums, some innovative courses like body percussion, home percussion, beatboxing, songwriting. These are these new age courses which introduced. They're very interesting courses, and when the children are exposed to these courses, there would be a lot of development, especially in the areas which have not been previously addressed before. But even to launch or introduce music at such a grand level, there is some kind of expertise which is needed. And here is where companies like us could come in. We are from Torrance Music, and we are a 360-degree solution, music education solution provider. We provide teachers, curriculum, training, and equipment, and a lot of instruments like 2025 guitars, 2025 keyboards, drums, and we provide an overall comprehensive solution. And like I have been saying, I feel that well-formed courses at a fundamental level will definitely lead to proper selection of course choices later on. And also, there is a very important aspect which also needs to be addressed. That is specifically after the implementation of the NEP. Probably in a few months, we're going to be having the rubrics, but we do not need, we need to address the fact that parents need to be sensitized about the various changes and the way education will now be imparted to children. And I feel that the parents, they have a huge role in the development of the children, especially when it comes to making proper career choices. Thank you. Over to you, Rajanji. Thank you.
Thank you, Savio, for those things and for sharing how certainly music can increase efficiency. So, thank you, all the key speakers, for joining and making this, 104th session truly special. I thank Neena ma'am once again, Disjot ma'am, Anita ma'am, Karishma ma'am, Jaswinder sir, and Savio for joining and making this session truly special. With this, we come to the last part of the session, which is question part. We have received many questions. I would like to present these questions for your comments and perspective. So, but before I, formally start presenting these questions to you, I'll just take a minute in explaining what exactly, we have been doing at School Lalaji Solutions. So I'll, quickly share my screen for a minute, and then I'll, start presenting questions to you all. Some of you are already aware with School Lalaji Solutions. We are India's largest one-stop solution platform for educational institutions. We help educational institutions in three ways. We help them in buying right thing from right people at right price. We also help educational institutions in selling their old stuff, like their old buses, generators, their furniture. You know, we also help institutions in raising money, that may be in terms of loans or in terms of fee financing or in some other way. Why there is a need for a platform like School Lalaji, for instance? You already have old suppliers, your team is having expertise, you believe that you are getting good discount. Why there is a need for a platform like School Lalaji Solutions? Why you should procure something with the help of a platform like School Lalaji? In India in 2021, we have thousands of new companies with wonderful products, with wonderful features, but it is a big challenge for both sides, for school leaders and for those companies to reach out to each other. It's very difficult for a school leader in today's time to interact with everyone, to meet everyone and understand products in detail, in every category. So at the same time, we come into picture. We understand your school, your taste, your requirement, your budgetary limitation. At the same time, we also have category experts. We also understand different products in great detail. We understand their nuances, their differentiation, and accordingly we connect you with the right people, with the right supplier. We also negotiate with the suppliers for you. And these are different areas where we help educational institutions: smart class procurement, uniform, insurance, diesel, solar plant, language lab, security solutions, furniture, recruitment, music classroom, healthcare, robotics, STEM scheme labs, career counseling, stationery, or digital marketing, IT solutions, educational tour, generators, learning tools, and finance. And we take the guarantee that will save at least your 5 to 7% of your annual expenditure. That's kind of a 5% annual additional revenue generation. Just one example of We are perhaps India's largest bus insurance, school bus insurance, partner for schools. We saved 2 crore 40 lakh rupees for different schools in bus insurance. We saved this amount. Uh, you know, uh, you may have 10 buses or 100 buses or 1,000 buses, but it is a it is a guarantee from our side that we'll save some money for you if we do your bus insurance from the same company. And these are some major highlights. We also did one very innovative service during the lockdown. We delivered books, for 92 schools from your school to your students' doorstep during the month of April end and May, June, and July. By the end of 2021, we aim to reach out to 10,000 institutions. We need your support, your guidance, your blessings. So with this, I'll end here. So now I would request Neena ma'am, if I may present this first question to you.
Yeah,
Neena,
go ahead. Yeah.
right. The question has come from Miss Bela Sharma. She is a PGT with the Army Public School, Shankar Vihar, New Delhi. The question says, how do you find that national education policy would ensure holistic development, of every child? If you can highlight some 2, 3 ideas suggested in NEP for holistic development of child.
Uh, the national education policy, definitely, like I spoke in my topic that I took up, was inclusion. And if we are looking at the children in the school, each and every child counts. And if I'm speaking specifically for children with disabilities or special children, getting them into the mainstream, getting them into the academic stream is definitely going to help. But other than that, for holistic development, we have to identify the talents of each and every child in different domains. It could be in the arena of sports, it could be in the arena of visual and performing arts. So that is where the teachers are going to play a very important role. We have to identify the talents of the children, and we've got to give them support. We've got to give extra input so that these children really shine in each and every sphere. So I would say that academics is important. At the same time, performing arts, visual arts, and the sports arena is equally important. And that's where the holistic development of the children will come in.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll come back to you. Now, I would request Divjot ma'am, if I may present this question to you. This has come from Ms. Shalini Agrawal. Shalini ji is teacher with SG Public School, Delhi. The question says, what are the benefits for rural students, in this NEP? If you can highlight, ma'am, 2, 3 key points for rural students. Divjot ma'am.
First of all, so many facilities are being given to them to access education. They have schools reaching out to them. Plus, when it says even for differently abled children, they're going to provide special education need teacher to be reaching out. I don't know how effective that would be and in which areas would it be possible. But rural areas also, there is a lot of awareness amongst the parents. The local area counselors highlighted to them to reach out to the main schools. Plus, under the EWS category, all of them access the best possible schools in their area. So accessibility is there and awareness is there with the parents. So they are reaching out.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you, Divjot ma'am. I would request Anita ma'am, if I may present this question to you.
Sure.
Yep. So, ma'am, this question has come from Ms. Neelam Rai. Neelam ji is a PGT with Sunbeam Sansudi of Varanasi. Neelam ma'am, question says, with the flexibility of subjects which are being offered in NEP, what are the key benefits you find for class 11th and class 12th student?
For class 10th, 11th and 12th students, they are going to give the subject combination, more subject combination in this NEP. They can opt with the, previously we are having the science stream, commerce and the humanities, but now they are planning to give the in NEPs, they have mentioned that they give the more combination of subject. Suppose that a science student can also study economics. They have the vast that combinations. This is the best thing they have implemented in NEP for 11th and 12th students.
Right. Thank you, Anita ma'am. Now I would request Karishma ji, if I may present this question to you.
Yes.
Uh, Ma'am, this is Karishma ji, this is again a very regular question. A lot of people have asked this during the previous sessions as well. So, this has been asked by Mr. Raghavan Prasad Tiwari ji. He's a TGT with the Sunbeam School. The question says, if you can highlight what would be the future of schools, let's say 15 years from now, post NEP implementation. How do you perceive the future school of 2035?
Since the NEP has brought in a lot of changes, and if we're able to change all those things, or at least some of them, then I would say that there will be some improvement in the technological part of the schools, and we'll be balancing between technologically or online classes as well as offline classes, and a lot of access to children will be given through online. And secondly, the major part which they talk about, the learning for all. So if that is worked upon and steadily, I think we will see a lot of young children from various sections of the society getting proper education, and getting literate, getting holding proper jobs. So I see a positive scenario if things work at the proper direction, and if other
I,
schools and everybody is supporting of the plan.
I believe rather than sharing your visualization of future school, you in fact share how we can create that ideal future. You suggested the roadmap.
Oh yes,
How
yes.
we can yeah,
Okay,
so
okay.
how we can create the
So
school. Yeah.
if I say how we would do that, so first of all, we will have to be very sensitive to every kind of child, and we have to be inclusive. We have to let them all in. We have to teach them, become literate, and apart from that, we have to advance in our technology. Even right now, although most of the school is still online, but the senior classes are now getting offline as well as online benefits. So, that is going to be the scenario after a few years too. We'll get to work on both online
Right.
as well as offline classes, even when
Right.
the corona is over. So that's how I
Right.
see the schools.
Right.
And
So
yes,
more hybrid
sensitive.
kind of environment. So thank you, Karishma ji, for that. Now I would request Jaswinder sir, if I may present this one to you. This is also a very regular question. So a lot of people have asked us, are we going to see English as English is going to get more diluted? So you are an expert. You come from that world of languages. How do you visualize the future of English?
Thank you, Rajulji. But can I add up to something which Karishma ma'am said and then come to my question?
Yes, sir.
Since I'm from technology. Okay. So what I see the future of schools 20 years from now is going to be small schools, a lot of technology, less number of teachers, less number of students, where the students being given liberty to study at a given time that they want. They can come and meet teachers whenever they want. They would come there only to learn life skills. Knowledge acquisition would be by itself. They will come to do only practicals, but learning how to do will be done by themselves at home. So it will become more of a social interaction place than of a teaching delivery thing. You will have spoke model where you have one school which has got multiple other schools connected to it, and schools kids can after a certain time go and shift over to that mother school where they can go and do their um, expert level learning or their research and all that. What I see is this is what is going to come in. You will not have to have presence, but you will have to have these many hours of things done, or these many papers published, or this kind of a document published, things like that. Because the future is not going to be that you should know everything. The future should be that do you know that this exists? And if you know, where to find that? So the whole idea of, I think that somebody got into this, the whole idea of a future school is more on creative side. It's more on deep thinking, because most of the jobs that are available today are not going to be there. It is all going to be AI driven. Believe me, we will not have to work 8 hours a day. We will work 4 or 5 hours a day. And if things go positive, it can have a negative impact. If things go positive, we'll have a great social life. That is what I see 20 years from now, because you've seen changes in the last 5 years. Imagine the next 50 years, and with the advent of newer technology, and AI is a big disruptor. So I see a lot of that change. And I also see that everybody will know how to get their things done. You need not do coding, but you will have tools to do that, right? So if you want to make a call, you just press a button. So if you want to have something new done, just press 3 4 buttons and things will work on itself. So I see a future good, provided the negative people don't come and make something negative which we have to fight with. Today we are fighting with a biological virus. Tomorrow we may have a mechanical virus. So that is also the sad part, but that's what I call. Getting on to the question that you had put forward to me, is English going to lose its shine or its importance or relevance? I say no. See, on one side, we are saying that the world is becoming smaller day by day. Yes, it is. India is already the back office of the world. We are becoming the factory of the world. We are going to be the service center of the world. So if you have to communicate with everybody, you need to have a common language, which is English. Okay, I always say that it is not that we are in I mean, so let's have two lines. This is English and this is a local language. So what India is doing, it is not saying that this language will go off, but the local language will have prominence. Okay, it will be known, it will be given its due respect and recognition. I don't say that if this line has to be bigger, you don't have to cut this line, you just make this bigger. So language English will stay there, but there'll be other languages which will be helpful, because we have a lot of stuff in our local language, a lot of learning which has happened, which is scripted in those languages. Somebody has to go through them. We can't just look at what the Britishers wrote or what the Americans wrote, or some people who don't want us to know what the world has written. I'll give an example. Before the Wright brothers invented the airplane, there was an Indian who read the Vedas and created a plane which flew for almost 30 seconds. We don't even know that, and now it is coming up because it was all written in Sanskrit. So that's what it's talking about. English will be there, and the other languages will also become important, prominent, and of more use. Thank you, Raju.
Right. Thank you, Jaswinder sir. The question was of just 1 mark, and you gave us an answer for 10 marks. So thank you for
I'm
detailed
sorry, a teacher
answer.
by nature, a
Thank you for
teacher
this.
by nature
Now
can
I
never.
would request our, Savio John. Savio, this policy proposes, I would say a lot of new subjects. In fact, the co-curricular activities has received great attention. But how we are
Yeah.
going to get the infrastructure? Let's say 10% students opt for music as an optional subject in particular. So do you really think we have the trainers
Yes.
for the music, or all these schools would be able to develop the infrastructure for music labs?
This question has multiple answers, so I'm just going to give you an answer in probably two to three parts. Addressing the whole idea of having instructors. See, we need to realize that there is going to be a dearth of instructors across the country, especially because of the guidelines and the need for specialized training, especially when it comes to subject like music. Because there is no specific guideline which has been laid out by the government when it comes to Western music or Indian music, that it needs to be taught in a specific format and a specific number of years, across the different kinds of curriculum which are available, whether it is vocals, whether it is tabla, or any particular instrument, as a matter of fact. And when it comes to Western vocals, Western music, it is absolutely ambiguous. So first, I think that there needs to be a need of uh, certain guidelines which need to be laid by a particular government authority, the education department, uh, and there needs to be some kind of a streamlining happening, singular guidelines, a singular framework laid out for music education. After that is done, there's a lot of echoing, and you may have to mute yourself. Okay. So after that is done, I think guidelines can be laid out uh, for the teachers, for the instructors who would be teaching music. And that is how we can address the whole idea of whether we have a shortage of music instructors or how we want to go about doing it. Secondly, what happened is during the lockdown, suddenly all the schools shut down, and we were in a good number of schools, and they asked us to continue teaching music to the children. And we did understand the fact that many kids did not have a music instrument at home. All the children do not have a guitar or probably a keyboard or a drum kit or anything at home. So what we did is we innovated, and we came out with a few new age courses, like I was mentioning in my main talk before this. It was body percussion, home percussion, beatboxing, songwriting, and Western vocals and Hindustani vocals. So these courses which I'm talking about, you do not need to have an instrument to learn these instruments, to learn these courses. No particular instrument is needed for this. So what happens is you could expose the children to a certain level of teaching them body percussion, probably introduce them with something like Western vocals, Indian vocals. They get an idea by clapping, stomping, snapping. These are all parts of body and home percussion. So children get an idea of melody. Children get an idea of tempo. They start developing a basic rhythm sense. And gradually, when you see that the children are interested in music, we set up a laboratory, we set up a lab, we buy instruments and introduce them to guitar, keyboards, and there are many other courses. And you have agencies like us who can come in and provide the solution of how to go about executing a music program. We provide instruments as well. And in case we need to be targeting an entire country, we need to introduce music to such a large population, to so many schools, then I think we need to go the satellite way. We need to compress all this information through technology, through the digital medium, and just like Jaswandarji always emphasizes on the need of digital education and as a means to reach out to the mass audiences. I think that needs to be also considered very seriously.
Right. Thank you. So, in fact, this policy is also talking about the collaboration. Where schools
Yes,
can share resources, but how practically that would be effective
absolutely.
yet to be seen. So, with this, we come to the end of this session. But before we conclude the session, I would request all our speakers if we can have your concluding remarks. You know, and we have also established one very interesting practice that while sharing your concluding remark, if we can also have an idea from you, for example, if you get a chance to become Minister of Education of our country, so what would be your priority? Let's say you become minister for just one day. So what would be your that innovative idea, that thought, that priority that you would like to implement at any cost? So now I'll begin with the Savio, you only Savio, if you become the Minister of Education, you know, with an additional charge of Culture Ministry. So what would be your priority?
With an additional charge for cultural ministry. Wow, wonderful. That's an interesting portfolio, Rajulji. To begin with, I will have you in the part of my advisory committee, and I would ensure that music education and dance and all forms of activity are introduced at the fundamental level in all classes. And I would ensure, if you said cultural ministry, there should be some kind of a music festival across every state in the country, and folk music be given a lot of importance.
Okay, so you would focus more time, or I would say the every entire time in Cultural Ministry only. So
No, no.
right. But
I would
during
ensure.
your
Yeah.
bio, during your introduction, I just read that you are very vocal about making music a compulsory subject, but you're not going to touch that
Right.
subject when you get a chance to become Minister of Education. You
What
you won't
I
make
would
it
have already
compulsory.
done that. I spoke about making music compulsory in my main talk. That was the whole subject on which I was talking
Right.
about. Of course, activities like music and dance need to be made a compulsory subject, and it needs to be shifted from extracurricular to co-curricular. That is, I strongly believe in that.
Right. Thank you, Savio, for that. Now, I would request Karishma Samiji, Karishma ji, I would request for your concluding remark and what would be your priority if you become, Minister of Education?
Well, I would suggest that every private school should adopt one or two government schools. And so basically, the government should fund the private school to be able to run those schools so that the quality of education improvises and, all the children around their area can get proper education. Because we know that government is somewhere lagging behind in imparting that amount of education, and when any private school steps in, they would make sure that every at every level each child gets proper education. So I would like tell every school to adopt certain government schools, not just adopt, but I would also uh, ask the government to spend some money so that they can work on that.
But I perceive a challenge that private schools will adopt, let's say, three schools, but they would be fighting for the funds. Funds are not, being released by the government of India for 3 years or five
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, that's
So,
a major problem. So funds have to be, given in properly without any
in advance,
corruption and
in advance.
leakage. So
So,
that needs to be a
right. So
priority.
thank you, Karishma ji. We all support your idea. Now, I would request, Anita ma'am, if we can have your thought, your concluding remark, and what would be your priority if you become Minister of Education?
I think
I believe
Anita ma'am
Anita,
has left. She's
yeah,
left
she was
long back.
facing some technical, right. So
Yeah,
now
yeah.
I would request Jaswinder sir, the birthday boy, uh,
Oh,
you know,
thank
so,
you.
so I would request if we can have your concluding remark, and what would be your priority if you become Minister of Education?
Okay, so first thing first, concluding remark. I would say this is a great policy. We all are excited, but we need not get scared. We have to implement this in piecemeal, one after the other. Things will fall in place because the intent of this policy is positive. So if we carry on that same positiveness, and if our leadership stays the way we want them to do and work on the education, that is an important part. Second thing, coming on to this, if made the education minister, I'll have to do two things. First, I will ask the government not to meddle into day-to-day affairs of the school. Let the educators run the education system the way it has to be run by educators, not by some politician. That's one. But on the other hand, if I were to be that, and since I'm from the education field, to understand this great policy that has come up, if we have to implement this, no amount of money, infrastructure will make it work or make it possible unless we have the right kind of teachers. A lot of us have talked about that. We have talked about teacher training, but before we do teacher training, we should have teachers who want to get trained, teachers who take this job as a choice. But how do you get them? You need to respect them. You need to give them the required respect. So I would grade teachers as the first class citizens of the country. If you do that, if you respect somebody, that somebody will never do wrong, right? In the true sense. So we need to do that. But there's one more thing. Nida ma'am, Divjot ma'am, Karishma ma'am, Savio, and the World Education Review, I am on a mission. I need your help. This mission is something which is gaining a little bit momentum, and I'm trying to do this through such forums. I'm going to share a screen. I would want you to understand something that I'm trying to put up. What I'm trying to do is, all, if you look at doctors, right? Doctors, before them, they write DR engineers write ER, CAs write CA. So we need to recognize all educationists. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So what I say is, why can't we have an ED written before us? Why can't our teachers be recognized whenever their name is written? So if you permit me, I have just noted these things down. If we can do this, nothing like it. This is something that we need to work on. This is something that we need to bring in. So if edu leaders can start prefixing their names with an ED, if they already have a PhD, ED bracket DR, and then their name, this movement will move. We should not expect the government to do everything, because the moment they do it, the opposition will come and say something wrong. So let's on our own put on to this. Let us have our teachers know that they are recognized, so that they work the way they are doing, and we can always attract the best of talent. See, what is important now is to attract the best of talent. So we can always mark up their salaries at par with the other profession. That's one, which is possible. India is growing. But along with that, we need to have the best of these things that we need to do. So I really request all of you, if you can do that with your school only, and these teachers through other teachers, this will become a great movement, and it is to the benefit of us educators only. Nobody is going to get harmed. And believe me, if I wear a coat and a tie, I will behave properly. If I have got an education written, I will carry the values of a teacher. And if we can do that, nothing like that. So that's what I would want to do if I become a minister or no minister. Let's do it.
Right,
Thank you.
sir. Thank you. And I see that you are getting a wonderful response, in the chat box. So that could be your birthday gift. You're receiving the full support
Oh,
from
yeah.
all the
Thank you
educators.
so much, everybody. Thank you so much. It really is inspiring. In fact, very soon I'm starting a Facebook and Instagram page on this. And we're asking all teachers to just post it. Just post it so that more and people come to know. We have got 100,000 schools where we need to reach. I alone can't do. So I need everybody to work on that. Thank you so much, Rajulji. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I would request Neena ma'am, your concluding remark, and before I go to Divjot ma'am, Neena ma'am, your concluding remark, and what would be your priority if you become Minister of Education?
Okay, before that, I would like to say that I would like that no silos between the subjects, no silos between co-curricular and curricular, no silos between academics and vocational, no silos between the science and the humanities, and no silos between sports, art, and academics. Children should have access to each and everything. And the question that what will I do if I become the minister? So that's a very, very simple thing I want to say. To get the best, give them the best. And here, the them are the teachers. Teachers are working very hard. And I think we need to also look at their emoluments. So if I'm the minister, I definitely am going to work for the salary structure of the teachers. It's sad to say, but still our teachers in India are underpaid as compared to the teachers in other countries. So let's look after our teachers also, give them the best, and rest assured they will do the best. They are doing the best. They will continue to do the best. Thank
Right,
you.
right. Absolutely, absolutely. So you would also need additional charge of finance ministry, ma'am, to raise
Yes,
the raise the finance amount. So
that will
thank
come
you.
by and by. That will come by and by.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, this is one very interesting fact what we have realized during our
Thank you,
103
ma'am.
sessions. 103 sessions that most of the school leaders, they have shown more interest in finance ministry rather than education ministry. They say that we have been education minister for our life for last 30 years or 20 years or 40 years. Now let's make some changes in the finance ministry. So thank you, Anina ma'am, for those wonderful thoughts. Now I would request Divjot ma'am, we would like to close this session with your blessings and your concluding remark. And what would be your priority if you become Minister of Education? You are on mute, ma'am.
So if I'm talking from the private schools perspective, public schools perspective, I would wish that all the stakeholders are more accountable. There should be a way in which the public school, private school teachers are made accountable. Uh, there should be strong reference check. It should not be a job that they do as a stopgap arrangement with no commitment. They walk in and walk out. Then the infrastructure commitments should be met by the managements of the schools, and the parents should be more acceptive. The parents should not always be in a retaliatory mode, and they should be more respectful of the teaching community, because somebody is contributing half the day to your child's life. It is not just delivering lectures. The teachers contribute so much. They look into so many aspects of your child's growth. They need to be more acceptive and appreciative of them. So, all the
Right.
stakeholders have a big responsibility to play if the system is to work well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So in fact, many of the educators in the previous session have also raised this point that more proactive involvement from parents is needed to achieve all the desired fruits. So thank you,
They could
Diplo.
also they could also be contributors to schools growth. I see some schools where parents pitch in. If they have certain skills, they come and share their time with the school. Then that becomes a very holistic way of, it's like a big family contribution. All of us contribute to it, and all of us give their time. That it really makes a difference to the children.
Uh, I have a thought on this, ma'am. I've visited more than 1,500 schools in my life, and what I've realized that most of the schools are not that proactive in they are not seeking that kind of support and involvement from parents. They are not actually encouraging parents to come forward and contribute. So, and some schools have started doing it, and some good schools are already doing it. You have such a strong, I would say, a community of parents. They are, professionals in some field or other field. But I've seen hardly, few schools are inviting them for, let's say, career talk session or, kind of a interaction with their students. So, if we can also add some remarks on that. What, as a school, are we encouraging parents to contribute?
Yes. Uh, you're asking me?
Yes, ma'am. I would come to you both. First, Diprot, ma'am.
Yeah, I was saying, like, say, if the parents come forward and become contributors to school by giving their time, contributing the skill that they already know, it would be more holistic, they would feel connected to school. The school would be appreciating that. There can be an idea like, like you have a teacher going on leave. If there is a mother who is educated, she says, okay, I'll give in 5 days of my time. She pitches in for substitution classes. There is a parent who is very good with sports, one of the sports. So he says, okay, I'll give you 1 hour of my time and I'll contribute by coming and teaching the children the skill. So that way, the school would grow better than the parents being always standing on the side, looking through the window and looking for ways to tell you where you are wrong, retaliating for everything, complaining, and not being appreciative of what is being done positively.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would also request Neena, ma'am, if we can have your comment on this. How many schools you believe that they have the data of parents, like how many musicians you have as a parent, or how many doctors, or how many lawyers, or how many when we do not have data, how we can ask them to contribute? Neena, ma'am, what are your comment in
Yeah,
this respect?
the community is definitely very important, and we have been getting our parents to speak to our children, especially the class 12th children. We have been having our doctor parents coming in and speaking to the children about medical profession as a career. So whenever the need arises, our parents, the community has always been at, has always helped us. And it's always a joint partnership with the parents and the school. We cannot do without them, without their support. In times to come, we will make a database. As of now, we may not have a database per se about doctors and lawyers, segregated. But that's a brilliant idea given by you. We would look at that definitely.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone for participating. Thank you, Anita ma'am. Thank you, Dipjot ma'am, Anita ma'am, Karishma ma'am, Jaswinder sir, Savio, for joining and making this session, 104th session of Leadership Talk truly special. Thank you all. We
Thank you.
end the session here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, principals, and thank you, teachers.